Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Chasing Rank YouTube channel. We are here with a live podcast tonight. As you can tell by the title of the podcast and the stream, it is a strategy chat tonight. So hopefully you guys are ready to go because it is a big show tonight. With me, as always, you've seen him already on the channel over the weekend. Damo, how you going, mate?
Not bad, mate, and not bad, everyone else. It's good to be here, and to those that are probably watching it back as a non-live stream on their way to work tomorrow, etc., give us a like and drop a question down below if you can't do it live as well. We'll get back to you.
Perfect. Well done, Damo. And the face of our Twitter scene is Dom. How you going, mate?
Hey, guys. Great to be back going again, rebranded, and keen for a good season.
Yeah, so for those real OG viewers, you might have gone, oh, I'm already subscribed to this channel. That's because there was a previous iteration that involved the three of us. Life gets in the way and there's other things that happen. And, you know, sometimes you got to step away in order to make things better. And that's hopefully what we're doing this time around. So if you are excited for another season of FPL, make sure you smash a huge thumbs up on the video and make sure you subscribe to make sure you don't miss any of the content we've been pushing out. Quite a lot of content across Twitter and YouTube over the last 5 days, which has actually gone down really well received. I think we're about 3,000 views over 4 videos, and Twitter is starting to really pop off at the same time. So we are looking at in a good spot. We are 3 weeks or just under 3 weeks away from the start of the season. So there's plenty of preseason content. So we are very, very excited to get on it. So before we get into tonight's strategy chat, I just wanted to get a gauge of our previous rank history. So Damo, do you have off the top of your head where you finished off last season?
Not off the top of my head. I know it was inside the top 25K because it was my best finish ever. I reckon I was just inside like 23, 24. I think you can find that on the Fantasy Premier League.
Yeah, I think they've changed it all now. But
yeah, which is a bit weird because you used to just go to Game Week history and it used to tell you previous rank. But I think it's all changed. But yeah, pretty sure it was 23 or 24K.
Beautiful. Dom, I know you had a few things going on last year, so I don't think overall rank was really what you were going for last season. But any insight on last season?
Not my best season. I don't even think I cracked the top million. But yeah, you live and learn.
I think there were some other priorities in your life over the course of last season that took away.
Definitely. So,
anyway, and then for myself, same as Damo, I had my best season of FPL last season as well, which was just outside the top 50K, which was a bit annoying because with about 3 weeks to go, I think I was at about 35K, and Damo managed to reel me in when I had a bit of a lead there, but I took a few punts, and let's just say Ismail Assar's not on my game week 1 list because inverse Eze is what really cost me a top 50K spot at the end of last season. So bit of bias in that pick there, but we do have a jam-packed episode tonight. So if you are keen, we are ready to go. So this season, we were going to potentially do a chat around this almost as its own episode, but I feel like a lot of people in the community have spoken to this already. Big change this season is around the defensive contributions that defenders make and the points that are relevant to those as well. So I'm just getting a file up on screen for you guys. Now, hopefully this is the right one because it'll be a little bit embarrassing if I get the wrong screen, and that is the wrong screen. So let me get rid of that one. And let me get the right screen up. But it's just about the expected points that we are going to see potentially from our defenders in FPL this season. So some names on here that probably shock you. So if we look to the top of the expected, points for defenders, you've got Lacroix there from Spurs, who is at a 0.97 for defensive contributions. But then over the first 8 weeks is sitting at 31.9%. So he is the way that I'm interpreting this is like 1.0 is that they're expecting to get the points every game. Is that right?
Yes, correct. Firstly, Pan Jan, good to see you in the chat. Dim, good to see you as well. Damo, yes, had a stellar year last year and actually picked all of us in our personal league. So shout out to you, mate. Don't know how you managed to do that, but yeah, well done. But yeah, look, the way the DC points are working, that's kind of the expected points per game that they're meant to get for defensive contributions. So obviously, Larox, I can never pronounce his name.
Well,
Leo
but so Tarkovsky's there at 1.18,
Yeah.
so he averages.
Murillo's there at 1.2. That's what they were expected to get per game last year.
I think, sorry, I'm going to butt in here. I think it actually means that, see, Lacroix, I think it means he made 9.7 defensive contributions a game last year in total.
Yeah, okay. Well, because it's out of 10.
Funnily.
10 being one.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. They just, the graphics a bit funny.
Yeah,
but
so I think, so obviously the higher the number, the more.
So they're saying like Tarkovsky hit his points.
Because we know he didn't hit it every game. He hit it, so I think he averaged it 2. Yeah, he was 2 in 3. I think he averaged 66% of the time. Tarkovsky hit the contribution points, which that is massive because that's an extra 2 points on top of bonus, on top of clean sheet. So in games where Everton were scrounging out 1-0 wins and he was getting that extra 2 points, you're looking at 4 for a clean sheet, 2 for the contributions, 2 for playing, potentially 3 bonus as well. The points really do add up. And that's where the video that I released, I think it was yesterday, I tried to go a little bit more like center back heavy. And I've been tossing and turning because Fantasy Football Hub are really pushing out drafts that still have those 6 million fullbacks as high expected points because of attacking returns. But I don't think FPL changed their pricing and changed their point structure and the bonus point structure because tackles have completely changed as well. It used to be net tackles. So if you put a lot of tackles in and lost them, you lost bonus. Where now it's just tackles, like in general. So you can attempt 20 tackles. It doesn't matter if you win them or not. You're getting 2 bonus, like 2 BPS every time. So I actually think centre backs from not so much Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, the top teams, because they're holding possession. Their defenders aren't making contributions. But it's, can you identify who the Nottingham Forest is going to be this year and who can we target in that? I think the 5 million defender bracket is actually a really interesting price bracket because at 5.5, like Munoz for me is an outlier because he's a 5.5 defender with attacking potential with, 0.52 defensive contributions a game. There's going to be games where he gets an assist, gets the 10 contributions, gets the clean sheet, and could be on for a double-digit return.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the other one you throw in there is Wan-Bissaka. He hit it in his recent friendly as well, in the last friendly they played, and he got fairly high, and he got a fair few contributions last year in terms of attacking. And as you can see from the data, hit it half the time as well. I think finding the players that either A, have super high defensive contributions or be super high attacking threats the way to go.
Not a bit of both.
Yeah. If you can find the players that have a bit of both, then sure. Someone like
Nico Williams.
Yeah, I was going to say, someone like Nico Williams, not too bad. It's pretty decent, 0.79, bit of attacking threat. It's pretty good. A player like Munoz all of a sudden becomes fixture-proof because in their really difficult games, he probably gets defensive contributions and plays naturally as a left winger. And when they're playing in those easier fixtures, hopefully the clean sheet, but more importantly, the attacking returns as well. So there's definitely a case now in the new dynamic that you don't need a premium defender and you just target all these centre backs that are going to be able to be played even in the harder fixtures. Because if they concede, they're still going to likely hit the defensive contributions and give you some points.
Yeah, there's definitely some big talking points. It's interesting that on this graphic that there are the promoted defenders that play in the championship. I'm just looking across. I can see that Estevez on there for Burnley. I feel like he's the only. Oh, and there's Joe Rodon from Leeds. Now, this is where you weigh up what's a clean sheet worth or what's defensive contributions worth, because it came through that Jan Bednarek from Southampton. I think was the third or fourth most defender to get the contributions, but at what cost? Like, how many goals was Southampton conceding? If they're conceding 3 goals a game and you're getting 2 points for contributions, you're still net 0 or -1, depending on how many goals you concede. So there's no point just loading up on defenders from bottom teams because their clean sheet odds are so low down. So that's where this like sweet spot of can you find a good defense with clean sheet potential with the defender contribution points, that's the unicorn pick. And I think Everton might be a defense where that's the case, and their pricing probably reflects it. They've got Branthwaite and Tarkowski both at 5.5. They've got Mikalenko and they've got O'Brien at 5. There's not a starting 4.5 Everton defender. So there's a reason why there's not a 4.5 Everton defender, because they're a defense that's expected to keep clean sheets in good fixtures and expected to get contributions in hard fixtures. So that's why, and it's funny because the only reason I think Hub aren't reflecting Tarkowski's points is because he's carrying a bit of an injury at the moment. So expected to come back before game week 1. So if I see him roll out 70 minutes in their last preseason friendly, I don't think I can go against him for Leeds away. Are there any defenders on this list that you guys are like, oh, that's just interesting? Like, you know, you can say Gabriel, you know, 6 million, premium defender, scores goals. His contributions are lower. But is there someone on this list that you look at that goes, shit, they've actually got a really big chance of getting into my side?
I've got a fun one.
I've got a fun one. It's Esteve from Burnley. I think they conceded 16 goals.
Shake hands.
16 goals. And I know that doesn't transpire to the Premier League, but kind of does.
Yeah, look, I'll delve into that a little bit more as well. Normally, we don't target 4.0s that are playing. Obviously, Neco Williams a while ago was a 4.0 that we all slapped in our
I think we've been lightly punished.
Yeah.
Not punished, but
it's hard to find value
past
in the
couple
defense.
Seasons we've all said
correct.
No more.
The reason why
defenders.
Esteve is like super like interesting on this list is Scott Parker is a very defensively minded coach, and Burnley are expected to be a lot better defensively than what they were a couple of years ago when they came up under Company and tried to do all sorts. And he has attacking threat. And even though you got to remember, with that 5th slot, you're not looking to play these guys every single week. But when they have a really good fixture, like he's got Sunderland, I reckon in like week 2 or 3 off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's early.
Yeah, like that is a prime fixture for your 4.0, your 5th defender to come on in a game where they're probably going to keep a clean sheet, but they're not going to be good enough to not have chances go against them. So there's going to be defensive contributions and Sunderland will go the other way. And there's going to be potential for attacking threat. So a player like that, I think, is worth their weight in gold. And that's going to free you up 0.5 or even $1 million to spend somewhere else. And with the options they have in midfield and especially now up front as well this season, that could be a really interesting pick. And a pick that traditionally we just, you threw it in the bin.
Position number 15.
You needed it. Yeah, but now becomes a very viable asset in the right fixture.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to your structure. Like if you're playing a game week 1 bench boost, do you want to start with Esteve against Spurs away? Probably not. Like I feel like if you're playing your bench boost,
what's their run like? Their first 3.
I don't know it off the top of my head, but if you want to get it up whilst you're there, but I think if you're bench boosting game week 1, I don't think you can go there. But I think he's a good wild card target anyway, unless you're prepared to set your team up longer term. Like I'm not looking at wild carding out of a bench boost, and we'll talk about my team a little bit later.
They go, oh no,
yeah. So it's a really bad run. Like the next 3 is like Spurs, but then you get that Sunderland at home,
United,
and
Liverpool, Forest, City.
Yeah, you can wait.
You
can wait until game week. You can wait until wild card 6, say, and get him in after that hard stretch.
Yeah.
Anyway, far away.
I've got another one on this list, and we're talking about guys that peak interest that you probably want to go for. There's one that comes up on this list that makes me want to stay so far away from him. And traditionally, we all would have picked him up. We all owned him at some point last year. That's Konsa. Because Villa are decent. They're a good side. They're going to keep some clean sheets. But he's a defender that he doesn't step up to win those interceptions. He's not the one headering the ball away when the ball's coming into the box. He's that guy that sits on the opposition's 9, just follows him around and just marks him out the game. So a defender like that has no defensive contributions. They got 0.1 last year. Unless they keep a clean sheet, you're not getting any extra point.
He did play a lot right back.
That's the key. He will continue to play a lot at right back, but the Villa fixtures for the first 8 are one of the better runs in the game at the moment. And like, he's someone who sits in my side, not for contributions, but for clean sheets. So that's, again, where you got to come up with the balancing act of how much more do you value clean sheets from good sides versus contributions from middling sides. So that's that whole dilemma of where do you sit on the scale? Do you have it? Because I don't think you can put all your eggs in the basket on good defenses for clean sheets and no contributions. And I also don't think you can put all your eggs in the basket of, I want defenders from teams who are only going to get contributions, because then too many like other managers are going to have players from those better teams that get clean sheets. I think we still need to have a level of balance on what teams you're picking. It's a really, this is why I'm loving FPL for this season. And this is why you can probably tell there's so much content coming out on the channel, because there's so much more to talk about. Like, this has completely opened the game. Last year was the most played season of FPL, 11.5 million managers, and FPL have just gone, we're going to drop this on your head and completely change the way defenders score. I think it's brilliant because it gives value to another whole middle section of the pitch that's never had relevancy in this game whatsoever. So I am so keen to see, what is the balance? Is the balance attacking fullbacks? Is it picking someone like a Kukurea who plays for a good defense, has good fixtures, has good attacking potential, and when he inverts into midfield, will get tackles and interceptions? Is he the prototype of type of defender that we're looking for? So there's just so many different angles you can look at, and we're not going to know this until a month into the season, until that wildcard 6. Like, I would not be. This is why I'm personally, my strategy, I'm not wildcarding in game week 2, because I want more data around what is the template post game week 6 when the fixture swings come around. So I'm just going to pick a bit of everything and just go, what's OP? What is the way forward? What do you guys think to that point?
Look, I think very quickly, it's probably the safer way to play, is what Paul's saying in terms of strategy and working this out, is we just got to need 4, 6, 8 game weeks of data, and then we'll find the trend. I believe it will be a hybrid balance. You're going to have a premium defender that is probably very good for, clean sheets like Guardiola, Gabriel, you name it. And you're going to have players like Manoz sprinkled in, who is very good both ways, defensive contributions and that. And then you're going to have some players that are just defensive contribution masters as well. I think it is a beautiful change by FPL and makes it very interesting. And I think it's going to make the game a lot more interesting and playable for the whole season.
Yeah. And for the record, my pick's Lacroix from Crystal Palace. Good fixtures, bar Chelsea, has attacking threat, and has very, very good defensive contribution. So, yes, he was top of that list. And there's a reason why he's 5.0 and Gay, he's 4.5. So I think he's worth the extra 0.5 in a good defense under Ollie Glasner. So, now, the other big change, midfielders. So, I don't think this changes the 6.5 mids and above, because the 6.5 mids, barring Declan Rice and Enzo Fernandez, are relatively priced more as your attacking options, and your sort of 5.5 to 5 million mids, barring Minte, are your more CDME midfielder types that are going to get this 12 defensive contributions. Minte's at 6. Yeah, Minte's 6. And he's someone we're going to talk about a little bit later. And again, this section isn't about talking defensive contributions, because as you can see in the top midfielders, the top 4 mids, Salah, Palmer, Saka, Eze, all have extremely low defensive contributions. We're not picking those 4 for their defensive work. We're picking them, obviously, for their attacking work. But when you start to see Bruno Fernandes, who is someone who burnt me early last season, we still don't know. The issue I've got with Man United is we still don't know what his role is fully. So we need to see what it looks like with everyone in the team. But if he plays deeper, there's a world where he turns into this playmaker, assist king, penalty-taking, defensive contributions player who also gets a clean sheet point if Man United sort their crap out. At 9 million, could be a bit of off-template option that I'm not going to jump into, because they do go Arsenal first up. So we get a look at what Man United look like. But I actually think it's a really interesting pick. What are your thoughts on the midfielders?
Damo, I know I can see you.
Yeah, Paul kind of alluded to, he was going to probably ask the question, who some of that sparks your interest on this list. And Look, I'm a Liverpool fan. You can see from behind me. I have been burnt by Bruno previously. I didn't touch him at all last year. But when you look at this list, there is this clear standout midfielder that is really good with defensive contributions and has attacking threat, and is just because of this rule change now fixture proof, and you could hold him for 38 game weeks. And that is Bruno Fernandes. Now, I expect in their harder difficulty games for him to play deeper, to get a lot of interceptions. You know, he nips at people's heels. He can be a destroyer. And when
intercepting the ball as well, presses high.
He's hitting 0.63 from being a creative player in a decent side. I don't know how good United are going to be. We're not going to touch that discussion. That's not bad. And then you look at his fixtures outside of Arsenal. He goes Fulham, Burnley. City's a difficult game, but he'll be on for defensive contributions in that game. Then Chelsea at home's a big game. Then he gets Brentford and Sunderland in his first 7. Like, if you can ride game week 1, or for those people that might be on the strategy that I'm looking at, he all of a sudden becomes an option that is like, you just set and forget. And like a couple of the other defenders that you're probably going to pick with defensive contributions. And no, he will tick over. You know that Mbeumo and Cunha are going to take penalties from him. He got 20 contributions last year in a really poor year. And imagine if he knew how to finish a one-on-one when he does get through on goal.
Yeah.
I just see a world where he scores 200 plus points this year easy.
Yeah. Thoughts, Dom?
I've got Bruno in my team at the moment, and I think he'll be there game week 1, and I think he'll be a set and forget player. Just because they've got to sign 2 competent attackers, Cunha and Mbeumo. He's going to get the returns. He's on set pieces. Yeah, I feel like he just does everything. He's a gun. He's too good for United. Goes both ways. I think, yeah, he's a set and forget. He's my first name on my team sheet. But someone that is jumping out to me, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, Reinders from Man City. 15 goals and assists last season at AC Milan. Rodri's back. He's going to go that both ways.
He's going to be the number 8, isn't he? He's at 6.5. He's at 6.5, and he's a number 8 for Man City. Bernardo Silva's another year older. Gundogan's another year older. I am actually very, very interested in him, but not from the start. I just can't with it. Like, there will be some point this year where when the games pile up, and their midfield's copping it, like under the pump, because they don't have legs. They've lost De Bruyne as well. I think he will be someone who plays a lot of minutes. And if I've got the confidence that he's going to play a lot of minutes at 6.5, even Rodri at 6.5, I think they could become viable options. So I'm very, very interested in a Reinders, but I just want to see it first. That's just my thing. But when Wirtz is at 8.5 and Marmoush is at 8.5, I think he's still at 6.5. When you're comparing him to Ndai and Kudus and Matoma, I think you're getting a Man City asset potentially playing most games.
Yeah,
I think he could definitely do a job. And Bruno, just one point on Bruno before we move on off this topic. He had some of the best creative data last season with donkeys up front. So I feel like if he had competent finishes like a Cunha and a Mbeumo, he probably walks away with another 5 or 6 assists last season, and we're talking about him having a good year. Personally,
and there's talks of Šeško, Watkins, like another proper number.
If they get Watkins with Mbeumo and Cunha either side of him, that is going to be lethal. Like that can't go wrong.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Anyway. Any other midfielders, Damo, there that you're looking at before we move on to some structure chat?
I've got other midfielders shortlisted because I'm looking at a potential game week 2 wildcard for the long-term future. The only one that I want to mention just very quickly that I am shortlisted is Declan Rice, because I think he'll be a bit box to box, and 0.82 is quite nice. DC
on corners.
Yeah, correct.
Yep.
So he's got some set piece threat. You expect Arsenal to keep some clean sheets. You expect him when they keep those clean sheets to probably get some DC points. More times than not, he does. And all of a sudden, you're looking at a 5-pointer before he gets an attacking return. And as we've seen, Declan Rice can pop up with a random free kick goal, a random assist to Gabriel from the corner. Very similar to why I've got Anderson in my team. When you're averaging 1.34, he's going to be nailed for Forest. He reminds me of what the old school people used to do with James Ward-Prowse. You know he's going to be on every set piece. Just stick him in the team. He's going to get 2 pointers, but then he's also going to get, the random 15-pointer.
Yeah.
Anderson's going to be the same, where that 2-point ceiling is going to be likely more 4 or 5 points if they're keeping a clean sheet. And then throw in the fact that he's on some set pieces and he gets an assist would be pretty insane. But yeah.
Cool. The only other name I'm sort of keeping half an eye on is Bruno G as well from Newcastle. I think in the right run of games, I think he could do really, really well. And same with Tonali. Like we saw at the end of last season, both of them really starting to push on and get further forward and contribute a bit more. But I'm very, very keen to see what Newcastle do with Champions League football once again. But that's just another sort of out there pick that I won't be starting with, but because they've got a couple hard games early with Arsenal and Liverpool amongst that. But do we need to start actually changing the way we look at some of these harder fixtures and go, all right, there's probably a scope there for some defensive contribution points from some of these central midfielders that maybe their floor in those games becomes 4 points. 2 for the contribution, 2 for the minutes played, and anything else is a bonus. If they get a return, you're looking at 7-8 pointers. So let's go look at some of the chat there. Alex, interesting that you're talking about wildcard and planning ahead because we are going to look at some different structures. So we might be able to talk to a few of these points, but I think if we were to look at game week 11 now, we're probably looking a bit far ahead. You know, we're talking 3.5 months ahead at this point. So we'll hold off the excitement for game week 11, but I like that you're looking at the fixture swings. That is a really interesting point. Dim, assuming Marmouche is a safer play over Foden for 0.5, I've got no idea who's playing in that 10 role at Man City. Like that could be.
If we knew that all be in our teams.
Yeah, I don't think you can go there just yet. I just think early days with.
It's going to be risky.
I mean, Marmouche is the play. Like if you're going to back a Man City attacker, it is Marmouche at 8.5. Like I think him versus Wirtz, I'm taking Marmouche every day of the week with that Wolves fixture at the start as well, because we've seen him do it for 6 months in the league as the 10 or as the striker. Like, you know, if Haaland gets injured, then you know you've got City's number 9 at 8.5, and if he doesn't get injured, you know he's going to play as one of those 2 10-8s, whatever the hell they are in that Pep system, potentially on the left. So I think at least. You're not paying 60 million for him to sit around on the bench, personally.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's very fair to say, Pep Roulette, you're never going to know, are you going to ever be safe with Marmouche's minutes? If Foden doesn't play 1 week, does he come in the next? That sort of thing. I want to go back to Alex, though. I know it's a fair way away, but, you know, he's mentioning stuff about the bench boost and some fixture swings. And I think it's very important to keep these forefront of mind as you're planning in game week 1. Now, obviously, previous years, look, we didn't get any sort of chips until later in the season. If you were an engaged manager, you would wait and play them all post game week 25, usually 24, 25. Now that we have got a lot of flexibility in what we want to do with chips because the double chips, and I'm pro this, I think it's great for the casual manager to come in and play FPL now. I think it's important to be planning your game week 1 squads with when you're going to play your chips in mind, because the game week 10, 11, and 12 are going to come around really quick. And if you're not setting up exactly what you want to do, you don't have to set up exactly like, this is it, I'm locked into this strategy. But if you have build a team that's flexible, unless you bench boost in game week 1 and wildcard in game week 2, hint, nudge, nudge, you building a team that's flexible and that allows to do what Alex is kind of mentioning is really good. I think wildcard 13 off the top of my head, if you're not doing something a little bit left the field, looks like the most popular because of the fixture swings that I mentioned in my video. In terms of bench boost, when it's going to be, as FPL Rubber Ducky's in the chat, quack, quack. Good to see you, mate. How's things? Hopefully you're well and enjoying the content. I think bench boost is definitely going to be a very interesting talking point and one we're going to cover shortly. So stick around for that. But yeah, having an idea when you're going to play your strategies and your chips, and you plan your strategies around that, I think it's important in game week 1, even if you just got some future game weeks in mind, like 13, 5 free transfers and 15 because African Cup of Nations, build your teams around that. And then those fixture swings, I think it's a really good idea, Alex.
All right, I got one more thing I want to talk about before we get to your game week 1 and 2 strategy, Damo. This dropped overnight for us. It dropped yesterday for all our lovely UK viewers who are tuning in the morning. Victor Gyökeres has dropped at 9. Now, I early thought he was going to come in at 9.5. I am probably the most bullish on Victor Gyökeres for a few different reasons. Everyone talks about him doing it in Portugal, all the commentary stuff. he actually played quite well, given it was the championship as well. Coventry didn't want to lose him, but he outgrew the league, and they were a promotion game away from him probably staying and then playing in the Premier League with him. I don't think you're scoring 50 goals in one season, and I think he scored 30-odd the year before in Portugal. So he's put up at least minimum 80 goals, whatever it was, in 2 seasons. Everyone then goes, Darwin did it in Portugal. We've got so much just historical data now. We haven't seen a striker like him be on the scene for this long and not sort of fall off, and without the service that he's walking into. He's walking into Saka on the right, creating for him. He's got Rice and Odegaard sitting in behind him, creating for him. And has Mikel Arteta and Arsenal realised that we've done 3 years of not playing a recognised striker and we're not getting the goals in big games over the line to win us this Premier League title? Is the mindset going to shift from let's be a possession-heavy, defensive-first team into let's go and be a little bit more like Jurgen Klopp 2015, 2016, and let's use Saka, Odegaard, Rice, Gyökeres, Martinelli, whoever it ends up being out on the left. Let's go and just be the better team. And if it means we concede 1 or 2 more goals here and there, then so be it. But we got guys that are going to fire goals in at the top end. That's why I'm bullish on Victor Gyökeres. I see there's more upside in Arsenal changing the way they play a little bit and having a talisman than them being this nice, pretty possession-based team that when push comes to shove against big teams, they can't score enough goals. Damo, I know you're probably the most, not anti-Gyökeres, but anti-Arsenal attacker other than Saka. What's your concern?
Look, just historically, the Arsenal striker has never gone on to be prolific and or score massive amount of points in FPL.
Barring Van Persie.
Yeah, Van Persie, Henry in its first edition when FPL first came out many, many moons ago before we started playing anywhere seriously. Yeah. But yeah, like I liken this to, and you know, you guys might slate me a little bit, when Gabriel Jesus signed from City to Arsenal, we all get on another Arsenal striker. Just look, unless Arteta changes the way he plays, or they just become a little bit more like Jurgen Klopp-esque to up a team that we're going to come out and be front foot, just go after you, not have this control about it. I just don't see a world where it's like, oh my goodness. Yes, it would be fun to own. Yes, in those fixtures like Leeds in game week 2, you would like to have an Arsenal striker, but just the way that they play, the control that they have over games, they'll get a couple of goals and whatever. That number 9 is there just to be a focal point, and it's really about, is it Martinelli on the left getting in behind? Is it Saka on the right coming inside onto his left getting in behind? Is it a midfielder like Declan Rice getting on the end of one from the edge of the area? A lot of their goals don't seem to really come from the 9. It seems to come from their 8s, and it seems to come from their wingers. And
that because they haven't had a competent 9, though, Damo. That's the thing. Like, they haven't had a guy like Arsenal have not had an out-and-out striker other than Giroud since Van Persie. Like, Jesus isn't a 9. Look, he's a right winger that plays as a false 9.
I hope for FPL sake, and I hope for Premier League sake as well. And I know this might be crazy to say Premier League sake, and we ban, I want us to blitz the league again, yeah, sure. But I hope for a Premier League sake, because I'm a neutral that loves watching football, that I want him to do well. And I want to see Arsenal with a proper 9, because you think back to the glory days when we were kids watching Prem, it was all about, you know, the big 9s and, you know, all these big name players that scored a lot of goals. And that modern game seems to have lost that. Nice, JS.
I've got a question to pose to you, though, Damo.
Yeah.
I love the 9 million forward spot because I don't have a graphic for it. My issue right now is if I knew Ollie Watkins was staying at Villa, you could hold Ollie Watkins for the first 6 games up front, and then for West Ham, Fulham, Crystal Palace, in comes Gyökeres, same money.
Yeah, look, I don't mind it. I think it's fine. And if we get some data and he looks really good and really attacking and, you know, this great player that we think he's going to be for Arsenal, great. But you got to remember, this is also a 9 million asset that we don't know if he's going to be guaranteed to start every game. And look, I know he has probably will arguably have the best penalty record going into Arsenal.
He won't be taking penalties.
No world is going to take penalties at 9 million. And look, for me, if you wanted an Arsenal attacker, you just shell the extra million out for Saka in the midfield, and that allows you plenty of flexibility to downgrade him to Bruno Fernandes or a 7.5 and free up funds that way, or move him forward and up to Salah if he pops off if you were on a Haaland only draft. So yeah.
Dom,
I'm
as
not sold.
resident striker, what are your thoughts?
I'm backing him in. I feel like I'm the opposite to Damo on this one. Well, what have we said for years that Arsenal are lacking that hasn't got them over the line in the past 3 titles? A striker. They've got it. Got a gun. Got a killer.
Yeah,
He'll probably
that's
be in my
why
team
you're not
game week
paying.
one.
You're not paying the money they've paid for him to come sit
No.
on the bench behind Havertz. Like, there's
No,
no chance.
Havertz sucks. Let's be real. Havertz sucks.
Absolutely no chance. All right, Damo. Before we move on to your bench boost and game week 1 and 2 strategy, Cunha or Mbuemo, which way you going?
Oh yeah, hard question.
Mbuemo.
I
Mbuemo.
love Cunha. I think he's fantastic. I think he's honestly, on his day, the trickiest winger to probably defend in the league. I think Mbuemo's very one way, but he's very talismanic.
You got to remember, Mbuemo loses penalty. I mean, they both technically lose penalties.
I think it's Cunha just. I think he has more nous for goals. He scores more different type of goals. So does Mbuemo, to be fair. I think this one's really close, but I'm not one to sit on the fence.
Are they the same price?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Both 8.
Oh, then
are they 8 million or are they 8.5? I can't remember now. I think they're 8. I think they're both 8.
Right now.
They're both 8.
Cunha's 8 and Mbuemo's 8.
I think you spend the extra million and get Bruno, personally.
Yeah. Flip a coin if you can't spare the extra $500,000 or mil, whatever it is.
Full million. If you can find $1 million, I'd go Bruno and get the penalty taker personally with defensive contributions. Because $8 million's an interesting price point in the midfield. There's not many other £8 million assets either.
Previously, I think it was last year, the year before, when we had like 5.
We had a lot of 7.5. That used to be the old price bracket, 7.5.
Yeah. The more I think about this question, and I don't think this now take player type off the head and look at Fantasy Premier League and structure, I think the answer to this question is Cunha or Mbuemo is Amad Diallo.
You're going to play right wing back though?
I don't think if they sign another winger or another attacker, he's going to start on the right every week, and he's 6.5.
What, over Mbuemo?
I think it's going to be.
Linked for a striker.
Bruno's going to play deeper, and I think Mbuemo's going to go one side, Diallo's going to go on the other, and Cunha's going to be through the middle.
Cunha off the left, and they're signing a striker.
3-4-2-1.
I think Diallo at the moment is probably the pick out of them. But obviously, if they sign another attacking player, then he's the one that comes out, right? So then
Diallo then goes to right wing back, and it's not even the worst, to be honest. Diallo at right wing back's not the worst shout too. Tim made a good point here with Odegaard as well. Like, again, more an assist potential type operator, but again, having an actual out and out number 9, does that actually help Odegaard in that 8 role potentially? I think that's a really good option. But we're getting carried away. We've got plenty of time for questions at the end as well. So keep them coming because we'll go back through the chat and we will get back to them. Damo, do you have your current side loaded up or the graphic that we spoke about around why me and you were both on bench boost game week 1 that we can talk to?
You want my team graphic or you want my...
Go the bench boost one, whichever one you loaded in before, and then we'll do the reverse, whatever you need to load up on your tabs as you're going. Load up.
Okay, so you guys can see my bench boost current draft, or do you want me to go through the pros and cons first very quickly?
Whatever you've got loaded. You go.
Is it on screen? Because I can't tell.
Not yet. Maybe I have to add it. Bench boost. Here we go.
There you go. Thanks, mate. There we are. So for those that haven't watched my YouTube video, and shout out to Paul, he's pumped up 2 shorts, both very different shorts on a potential bench boost game week 1 strategy. I'm currently on it. And I know there's some people that are like, I'm going to release some content about bench boost 1. I'm currently sitting in the camp where I'm 95% sure that I'm going to be bench boosting, and I'm almost 95% sure that this will be my team for game week 1. Very weird. And you boys can attest, I'm usually the guy that tinkers and sends you guys about 6 different drafts a day. I probably spend more time on FPL and Fantasy Football Hub than I do in my actual job. However, what I will say is there's a lot of good pros for bench boost, and I think this is my current team. I think the idea of being able to use as limited transfers to tweak the best bench boost you can possibly have is just such a big advantage over any other time to use a bench boost that it would almost be silly to not do this. We've never had the luxury of having another bench boost for when there is a double later in the season, like game week 32, game week 34, or whenever you get the FA Cup fixtures and all that. And I just think taking advantage of that, starting the season really well as well, is another added bonus. I think this just makes the most sense. And you're going to get team news if you need to make any tweaks deadline. But yeah, would you like me to run through the draft, Paul?
Oh, we've got the video there where you've sort of gone extensively through it. It's funny though, has your mind changed on the defenders at all since the defensive contribution stuff though?
A little bit. I think that the way that I'm thinking about it for just my game week 1 and allude to the chip strategy, I'm heavily in the camp of game week 1 bench boost, game week 2 wild card, where a lot of other people are like Alex said in the chat, he's going to lean toward game week 13. Paul's video that he did a bench boost where he did one where he's looking game week 1, game week 2, and then he did a very interesting one, the one that Raptor put out today as well, where you bench boost in game week 1, but you set up for like a wild card 3 or 4. Reason why I'm not on a bench boost 1 and then wild card like 3 and 4 is because I just think it compromises the actual bench boost itself in game week 1, where you're not going to have the most optimal team. And I think that also ties into the defensive side. I think when you're on a bench boost, you're looking for one particular game week. Are you playing defensive contributions then, or are you trying to maximize your points? And I think if you're doing that for a bench boost game week 1 and you're wild carding the team straight out, you're looking for maximum points. So I think that you have to target those fixtures that are really, really easy for a defender to get an attacking turn in and potentially a clean sheet. So, Pedro Porro at Burnley, I think obviously Kirkers will probably start. If not, I'm like 95% sure he'll start. And we've got Bournemouth. And I know that Damien just mentioned it in the chat about Sunderland there and West Ham's fixture.
Give me a rundown of the triple West Ham with Souček.
Okay, so it was in the video. So go watch the video if you want the full in-depth one, Dom. But no, I'm kidding you. Obviously, with Bowen, Souček, and Wan-Bissaka, I just think Sunderland at home, Sunderland at their ground stadium a lot, right? Going to be really aggressive and up for it on the opening day. And I think this is going to lead to them getting absolutely smacked the other way. I think Bowen is arguably being very overlooked because of this change of position, and rightfully so, I think. But
he's still their best forward.
Yeah, nailed on.
Regardless of if he's a forward or a midfielder, it's only going to cost him 30 points. He only loses a point per goal. Like, it's not the end of the world.
Is gone, so he's likely on penalties now as well.
Yeah, but you're losing.
I think there's a lot of routes to points in one game week against a newly promoted side. Great. Wan-Bissaka in the last friendly got defensive contributions. He naturally is a very defensively minded fullback, someone that can defend really well, but also got attacking contributions last season too. So I think there's a world where Sunderland will still come out and try to score, but won't be able to because they just won't have the quality. Wan-Bissaka will pick up those defensive contributions and potentially get attacking contributions the other way as well. I think it just makes the most sense for $4.5 million in terms of one game week punt there. And then Souček as well. Yet again, does okay for defensive contributions, not the greatest, but also just bobs up every now and then. Set pieces seem to be in and around the box. How many times have you seen pop up for West Ham, getting in the box late, ball falls to his feet, gets on his head. So I think yet again, for me, who's wild carding in game week 2, you're targeting one fixture for one game week. That's the fixture that you're targeting, is a newly promoted side.
Thoughts, Tom?
Fair enough. Did not expect that from you, Damo, given how you play the game generally. But
yeah, it's a bit different.
Mixing it up.
Yeah, I think there's two camps. Like, you can either go hard at the game week 1 fixtures and look for the early wild card, or I'm still very much in the camp, set up a good bench boost, but still set yourself up. The only thing I think is a negative about setting up a bench boost that last 6 weeks is a little bit money tied up in the goalkeepers. But other than that, I'm someone who likes playing with a bigger squad anyway. I'm not quite comfortable playing with a 13 or a 14-man squad. Keepers. I don't. That's the only slot I don't like, rotating keepers. But if I have to do it for 6 weeks, I'm sure I can. I think I've found a good enough rotation between Sanchez and Verbruggen where you're not left high and dry for too long. But that's the only slot I'm okay with on my wild card. Really taking money out is cashing out of the Verbruggen for 0.5, and then I still like having 3 playable bench players anyway. So it's like, I feel like at the end of the year when you've got your team value through the roof and then you really want to suck that money out of your bench and then get rid of your money off the bench. But I think early, the more guys you got playing and playing well and generating money, the better. So that's just how I play, though. I'm a bit more on the conservative side, and I'll play fixtures. And if I have someone on the bench do really well in a fixture I didn't expect them to do well, I can at least own that and go, well, I was never going to play them anyway. So that's how I play FPL. That's not how everyone plays FPL. Some people jam their money into 12 players and go, I'll deal with these 2-pointers on the bench and I can live with it. But that's just how I play. So I'm still constantly tinkering my side around. We are going to get into our strategy chat now because I do have some teams from Twitter on the screen. So this comes in from FPL Olympian. Now, I have really thought this through. I think I did do a video on this. I can't remember. I think my first video was on a 3-mium draft. Salah, Palmer, Saka with Aina. Now, Colwill could easily become Lacroix from Crystal Palace, who defensive contributions, attacking return, probably are both better than Levi Colwill, but you obviously have the reverse fixture game week 1. Then you get Van de Ven, Kudus, so you get that 6.5 million price point. Is Lafay, is he a 4 million defender?
No,
I don't know who he is. Is he in midfield? Oh, it's Conser and Ronaldo.
Yeah,
so that's
he's
probably
a
a
new signing.
midfielder, which I don't particularly love. But what are your thoughts, Dom, on a 3-mium with a 5 million goalkeeper too?
Been burnt by 3-miums. I did have one initially. This is probably the only really 3-mium you could do, because you can't really fit Salah, Palmer, Haaland.
No, you can only do it in the midfield.
Yeah. I feel like there's nothing. I personally wouldn't do it, but I think, go for it if you're going to do Palmer, Saka, Salah, because there's just so many options around. Like, look at the team he's got around him with a bench boostable bench right there.
What do we think of maybe Sells potentially coming down to a 4.5 just to get that Lafay up to, I don't even know, like Belieber? Is he even worth the extra 0.5? Like, I don't know. I don't think there's really many 5 million options that are worth it. Or instead of a Chris Wood, you go Strand Larson, save $1 million, and then turn that into Elliot Anderson, and then you're sitting at.
There's some options.
I think, there's a couple ways to make money in that side. But for Aina at 5 million, Colwill at 5 million, Van de Ven and Conser both at 4.5, Reynildo can be easily Esteve, and that's already looking like a decent team. Damo, what are your brief thoughts on it?
I understand. We all want the assets. We want all of them. I've even looked into a Salah Haaland draft. I couldn't really get one that I liked. I think there's so much potential in other areas of the game, that the defensive contributions probably interchanging defenders with better fixtures. If you're going to play all 4.5s, etc., is probably important. So I think that have your money tied up in free assets is probably limiting. It also doesn't give you much flexibility. Say, for instance, you really want to get to Gyökeres because he went fantastic. You're now forced into 2 moves. It's Palmer, Saka, or Salah down, and then Solanke would well back up, right? So you're already got to burn 2 free transfers. And as you've seen over the years, and Paul, you went from using a few hits the year before to last year not taking a hit, only 1 hit, throughout the whole year really impacts rank. So I think especially early on, and you're someone that can't really hold the stomach of a team like this, and Gyökeres goes bang, bang in his first couple of fixtures, and then you want him, or you want to get to Watkins because they have a really good run and he bangs off at the start of the year, or Isak stays at Newcastle and he goes ballistic, right? You just got no way without taking 2 transfers, which could be a hit this early on in the season to get there. So, I would rather have a team that has a little bit more flexibility and rather have probably one of the best price points around in each line, if possible.
Yeah. Nice. So we'll move on from our 3-mium draft to, again, we don't need to spend super long on this draft, but this does have Salah, Haaland, and Palmer. So it is another 3-mium. Now, the only downside I see to this, obviously, you're running 3 6.5 million mids. So as Damo just mentioned, you're stuck if someone at 8.5, 8 really does go off. You have to either go 1 up, 1 down, and then maybe start looking at a 4-4-2 a little bit more. But when you look at that as an 11 with Consa and Esteve or Reynildo on the bench, what are our initial thoughts around this setup with all 4.5 defenders and a 4.5 goalkeeper?
Yeah, I think game week 1 it looks good, but I think if you ran that game week 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. My concern with premium drafts is the value in having a premium asset is that they're captainable. But when you have 3 premiums, you can only get the captain score from 1. So it's like, do you put all your eggs in the one basket where you know you're going to captain Salah most weeks, and then you might have a sub-premium as your secondary option, or you have, I think 2 premiums the way to go. Like if you can have Salah and 1, or Salah and a Bruno, or Salah and a striker in good fixtures, I think that's the way to go over. Like I even struggle early days with Salah and Palmer because it's like then you're making a decision. Do you captain Salah? Do you captain Palmer? Where it's like, no, I'm going Salah every week unless he plays Arsenal, and I want one of my 3 strikers to play a promoted side, and I just go, yep, Solanke, yep, see on you for 1 week, and we're back on Salah. What are your thoughts to that?
Damo?
Don't like it. But, I think that going...
The names look good, don't they, though?
Oh, yeah. Well, look, you straight away go, oh, yeah, you've got all 3 big boys, straight off the bat. And, you got...
Yeah, great game week 1.
Good asset, and you got, some cover. But I just think it leaves you lacking in a lot of areas. Like, look at what we first talked about. Defensive contributions and, how the game's going to be. And we probably, all 3 of us, landed on some hybrid of a premium defender with good fixtures and clean sheet potential, with then defenders that have good attacking ability, etc. And good defensive contributions. You're pretty much locked into who are the best 4.5s that I can get. And you can't even rotate them with fixtures because you won't have enough money on the bench. When you're running out a 4.5 mil forward that likely is going to get loaned.
That's the concern. I don't like the dead spot.
It's not great. This is why at least having a 4.0 defender like Esteves, who's going to play every week and has some good upside, is much better to spread your funds that way.
Oh, he's got the 4 defender already too. That's my concern. He's all a 4 and a 4.5. Not a fan of that.
And I think that when you tie your money up this way, it can go really well. There was last year at the start of the year, if you had Haaland and Salah in your team with Morgan Rogers, to balance that as a pretty good asset, you started the year off fantastic because they went big and they went bang, right? You do that draft there and it goes off and all of them go nuclear. Great, you're ahead of the game. It's really good. Well done. Congratulations. But what happens when they slow up? All of a sudden, you're leaving yourself transfers. All of a sudden, you're leaving yourself with no flexibility. And you're leaving yourself no way to get other points elsewhere. If the premium does, which premiums will do, they will blank in a game week. We've all been there. We've all been frustrated by it. So, yeah, I also like your debate as well, Paul. You get a premium to captain in most weeks. And when you have 3 of them, who do you captain and why? And I think
probably get it wrong most weeks too, which is the frustrating
correct. You're leaving yourself more options than not to get it wrong. Where, if you get Salah against Burnley and you captain him and Liverpool win 9-0 and he doesn't get a contribution, no, I did not get burnt by that last time that happened.
The Bournemouth game.
Yeah, all right. At least you can live with that. Where if you have Palmer's got a good fixture, Salah's got a good fixture, Haaland's got a good fixture, you choose Palmer and then Haaland gets 5 and Palmer only gets 1, right? You're going to be frustrated because you're like, I could have captained him. Where if you have the 1 premium and the standout option for your captaincy, you can really make it mentally a little bit easier on yourself.
So if you are here for the first time, make sure you smash a like on the stream. At the moment, we are sitting on 7 likes, which is actually quite high. And we have actually picked up a new subscriber whilst we've been streaming. So if you haven't done that as well, please make sure you are subscribed because you will then not miss any of the content. We do have Dim's team here that he did send to me a little bit earlier. If you want your team reviewed, now's the time to put it in the chat. You might not be able to send through a picture of it, but at least just type in your team or reply to Twitter and then Dom can load them up for me and we can add them to the stream. All right. Or Ducky, if you want to type yours in, or at Chasing Rank on Twitter. Dom will put the link to our Twitter in the chat. So if you want to follow us over there as well, make sure you get on that too. Dim, let's kick off. I haven't even looked at your team yet, Dim. So let's have a quick look. So we've got Verbruggen in goal with Van de Ven, Wan-Bissaka, and De Kuyper. So he's gone with the 4.5 million defenders with Konsa on the bench and a Renildo. So very, very cheap at the back. Wow, this is big at the front. This has Rogers, Palmer, Ndai, and Sarr, my snake who killed me last year. And then we also have Gyökeres, Haaland, and Isak. So that is some big, big money in the forward line. Damien, early thoughts?
I like it. I think it's different. Firstly, Dim, and Dim's been known to go quite different. He's not one for the template and the norm. So, people having fun is really good. What I will say is that I like it, but I think there's some slight improvements that you can make. And I'm on my own recommendation here, Dim, and it's nothing against Sarr. Not that he burnt Paul last year. I actually benefited from that in our leagues, which was great. Is I think what you could do here is being that it's so light, especially defenders. Sarr to Minte, I think it's a sideways move, and Minte's going to be pretty good and nailed for Brighton and give you 0.5 million. And that gives you at least 0.5 to get Ronaldo up to someone else. Or what you could then do, Dim, and something that maybe I would look at, move Ronaldo to a Stevies, and then you could move Konza to a 5 mil defender, and there's a lot of good 5 mil defenders there as well.
Lacroix's the one for me.
Yeah, same here. That's the one I would be earmarking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's who I'm very, very keen on. So, look, I think same thing. Like, if you know that Haaland or Palmer are your two captain options, and so be it. Like, obviously, you're gone without Salah, which, again, you can back against Salah. Like, I don't think I've got the bullies to do it, but that's where I'm at. Yes, Damo?
Forgot to mention, Dim, don't go near Isak at the moment because we don't know what's going on there. I think two
Same
things,
with Watkins. Right? Same with Watkins.
If he stays at Newcastle, great, but we're not going to know that. And the season, the transfer period goes beyond game week 1, so you can't just set up with him, right? And if it is going under a transfer cloud, they might not even pay him in game week 1, so he's still a sellable asset for them. Second thing was what I would say, if he does move to Liverpool, which I know how Dim thinks, and he's probably doing this, so I can have him for Liverpool. I think, like Andy said in his video today, and as much as I'm a Liverpool fan, and I would love to see him come, and our front four would be fantastic, makes him a worse option because he's not going to get pens, and he ain't going to get guaranteed minutes that he does at Newcastle.
Yeah, that's my thing.
So
Plus, we've got
I think there's a world where you downgrade him to one of those 8.5, 7.5 mil, 7 mil strikers, get your money, and that's probably a way to maybe even improve that midfield review as well.
No, I don't want to go near Watkins until I know what's going on with him too, to be honest.
Well, you'd know just before game week 1. Surely.
No, I don't think we will. And the issue is the transfer window goes through past game week 1. So I just don't want to go near anyone like that. And I'll get them on a game week 6 or 7 wildcard. So if you want your team reviewed, please reply to the most recent tweet that is there on Twitter, which Dom's got in the chat there, because this is Ducky's team. So I managed to go and pluck Ducky's team off the Twitter from the mentions on the stream going live. So please go and reply to that tweet. So I can see JS, your team is there as well. So I'll go and get that in a second. Yeah, I'll do it, Dom. I've got that tweet open. So thank you, JS. I can see it's there. We'll get to yours next. Ducky has Sells, Virgil, 8 Nuri, Cucurella. So this is the opposite. This is big at the back. Rogers, Rice, McNeil, and Palmer with João Pedro, Wood, and Haaland. So both teams without Salah, which is interesting. I'd like to hear. So Dim and Ducky, can you get in the chat and let us know why you're anti-Salah? But I think, is McNeil 6? I think he's 6 mil. I don't think he's 6.5.
6.5.
Oh, if he's 6.5, man, I think you just go with Ndai, who's... Wait, what'd you say, Damo? He's 6. I like Minte better, though. Yeah, but that's just personal preference.
I think it's really close between all three. May as well have a discussion since you brought them up. The algorithm prefers Minte on Fantasy Football Hub, and they generally get it right.
They love him.
I'm thinking. NDA is 6.5, right? So you're saving 0.5 mil there, but you're paying the extra 0.5 because he's going to likely take penalties, right? So as someone that's owned McNeil, as someone that got McNeil points last year, I have an affiliation to him, and I love the pick. I think this is an option that it depends what you want to do with that spot moving forward. And I know that you've seen E. whatever, E. Fee. I've seen him a lot, the Sunderland guy.
Oh, Lafayette.
The reason why he's popular is he got a lot of defensive contribution because he sits a bit deeper, and like Elliot Anderson takes a lot of their set pieces. So everyone's expecting him to be like Elliot Anderson, but for 0.5 mil cheaper. I like it if Sunderland are decent. I just don't know how decent Sunderland are going to be.
I mean, they have made some signings, but I don't know where they're going to go. And I think
they've got a good run, don't they?
4.5. No.
Really?
I don't know. I just don't want to touch promoted teams, man. Like, I'm just a bit, how you doing with promoted sides? I'd rather sit and look. I reckon there's got to be periods where we jump on them later in the season when we're trying to take money out of our team. But I don't think game week 1's the time to go getting them in. It's all fixtures based. With City's fixtures, we all know very quickly if they're back, we can wait on Liverpool for the first month. I just think Liverpool potentially going to hit the ground running. Like we're a team that in the first half of the year really do get up and about. But again, there's probably a bit of Liverpool bias with Damo and I. I like the team a lot, Ducky as well. Any thoughts around 8 Nuri versus any of the other 6 million defenders? Because there's almost three defenders. There's almost 3 defenders here that are all very, very different. So Virgil is a little bit of attacking threat, but mostly defensive contributions. And his is quite high for a team that is a good side. Cucurella's a bit of a hybrid defender, and 8 Nuri is just pure attacking threat.
I like the 3, personally. I think it's a great team, Ducky. I think this is one of the better non-seller drafts I've seen around, so kudos to you. Would love to see what that rates in Fantasy Football Hub, but I'm not going to destroy my current planning that I have on the side here at the moment. I think it gives you a nice blend of a defender in Virgil that gets defensive contributions because we're very open. You're going to get Cucurella, who's going to go both ways. The only one I would be worried about here is out Nuri because how much does he start with Pep Roulette?
Just thinking
I think he starts personally, but Pep Roulette.
Where does Vardy fit? Does he play left centre back? Is he still going to play left centre back or left?
I think there is potential in this team to move out Nuri if you're going to go with this sort of team to Munoz, who is both ways and very, very good defensive contributions. Larox obviously is fantastic as well in that, and then that way you can.
Or Murillo.
Yeah, Murillo, another one. And that way you can probably go Ely Fee up to even an Elliot Anderson as your 5th player at 5.5 is pretty good. And with the other 5.5, you can go McNeil to NDI if you want the security of penalties as well. And that might make it that extra 1%, 2% better, which could be the difference at the end of the day. But in terms of a non-seller draft, this is one of the best ones, and kudos to you, Ducky.
Yeah, I think that is a solid side. Dom, any thoughts before we move on to JS?
Yeah, you covered everything. Keen for this next one, though.
All right, Dom, you can kick us off here with JS's side. So you should be about to load up. There we go. So I'll read it out first, and I've got to zoom in on this. So Sells, Van de Ven, Cucurella, Frimpong, and De Kuyper, with Ndai, Salah, Saka, Palmer, Solanke, João Pedro. So Threemium, Konsa, Ramsey, and Krupi Jr., who has been going through the FPL community. I think he scored 20-something goals last year playing in League One. So proven goal scorer that Bournemouth have picked up. Again, I haven't seen any of Bournemouth's preseason games, but Dom, early thoughts on a Threemium from the Threemium master himself.
Big fan of this one. Like, it's a team I could see myself rolling with. If I were to go the Saka over Gyökeres, which is on the cards, they're like his 11. His 11. They're all going to start at least first 3 game weeks. You saw their bench, bit of uncertainty. But if you're not bench boosting, does it really matter? You can use Konsa as your rotation, and by then you'll know if Krupi or is that Aaron Ramsey that used to play for Villa?
Yes.
Yeah, so he's proven in the Premier League. Not proven, but you wouldn't be surprised if he, doesn't hit the ground running. And then, I think it's just a solid team. If I was you, I could easily see myself going into game week 1 with this one.
Yeah,
it seems very template. It seems very, see a lot of this, the core of that team. But hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm
not a fan of Frimpong. As much as I love him as a footballer, I think Connor Bradley is going to provide serious competition for that right back spot. Now, that doesn't mean that Bradley starts every game and Frimpong doesn't, but we saw Slot and Klopp over the last couple of years be fine pulling the fullbacks off 55, 58 minutes in, and you lost that clean sheet a lot of the time with Trent early days, which is quite frustrating. Like if Frimpong's playing 58 minutes and getting 1 point for 6 million and you got Virgil sitting there, I think there's better options at 5.5 and at 6, to be fair. I don't want to touch a Liverpool defender that's not Virgil at 6 million, personally. Unless you're Damo and you're doing it for 1 week and you're getting off them anyway, then fair enough. But I actually don't think you can go Frimpong. And he, like, all the preseason stuff has looked amazing. He looks so good going forward. But if we're 3-0 up at half-time and the 55th minute comes around and Connor Bradley's sitting there needing minutes, I reckon Slot's got no issue pulling Frimpong off and saying, well done, man, you did your job. Go rest up. We're playing on Wednesday. So that's just, as much as I want to pick Frimpong, he was like one of the first players in my draft. I actually sat there and thought about it and I was like, nah, I can't do this. So I love the midfield. I mean, again, we spoke about captaincy so much. I just don't think I can do it for that aspect alone around the captaincy. I want to get, Dom, your thoughts on João Pedro, because he's someone who at 5.5 has been a great asset for us, but has also had penalties. In the last 2 seasons, half of his goals in both those seasons came from the spot. What are your thoughts around his role in the team and what his minutes look like early days?
I had him, and now I've been off him. I just think 60 minutes off Delap on, and there'll be that chance where he just, out of the blue, just doesn't start. You know, you got weighing up Champions League now. You know, it's not like the Conference League where they can just slap in 17-year-olds and they're going to win. I think his expected minutes are way below what people are expecting. And I think people just saw his Club World Cup, had a fantastic Club World Cup, but that's not going to transpire to the Premier League in terms of minutes. He might, you know, there's no reason why he won't get a goal assist here and there, but I think you want, for your attackers, you want 90 minutes in the park, or at least minimum 80 minutes. And no one knows what's happening with Jackson. I think he goes, he seems like he's a third choice number 9, but I think, yeah, come 60 minutes, 70 minutes, Delap's on.
Thoughts, Damo?
I agree. He's the one that I'm less certain on in my current Game Week 1 bench boost draft. I've got him there as a placeholder for one that emerges, mainly maybe Wissa, for instance, if he stays at Brentford for Game Week 1. But yeah, I think João Pedro is a fantastic asset. I think he's someone that's going to do very well for Chelsea. But I'm just worried for A, minutes, and B, if he starts. I think he starts Game Week 1, but I don't know how much further outside of Game Week 1 does he start in that team. I will say this, though. He isn't just an out-and-out 9 that's going to sit there. He's someone that's going to drop in. He's someone that's going to link up play. And he's someone that's going to be very creative in his play as well, as you saw in the Club World Cup. So I think he's going to have a lot of routes to points. It's just about thinking, how does he best fit that Chelsea side? What does that look like? And like with all these new signings, generally us in the community and people that are engaged, we'd like to see some data and some interested in the eye test before we go with these selections. But look, if you're brave enough to do it, JS, and I'm currently on it myself, then yeah, pretty happy.
Whilst you're going there, Damo, what are your thoughts on Malin?
Look, interesting one is Mr. Malin. He is someone that I don't mind. I don't think he's going to get enough minutes at Villa. But if he does, he could be great at 5.5. But there's a lot of options that could be really good at 5.5. If this Meniz move from Fulham to Leeds happens, all of a sudden you've got a nailed-on guy that's probably going to take penalties for Leeds, and they need a striker. And all of a sudden he's nailed in our team set and forget. You just play him every week. And off you go. If Leeds gets a goal, it's likely Meniz. And if they don't get a goal, then who cares anyway? He's only 5.5 million. And you can maybe even fixture swap him with like Elliot Anderson, etc. You know, if Wissa ends up going, you got Thiago as well. He's only 6 million, right? So, and he will be nailed in on penalties if Wissa goes from Brentford. So, whilst I like Malin and he's one to watch, I don't think he's one we're going to touch early doors. He's going to be someone that probably after this 8 game weeks that Aston Villa have that are really good, we're just going to watch that with interest. If he pops off, oh, well, we missed the boat. But he's someone that you're going to pick up on the return side, and he's going to be really cheap. Yeah,
I think, again, Villa, I'm keen to see what they do because they've lost Asensio, they've lost Rashford as well. Like, I think there's going to be some movement for them. Now, Dom, do you want to present your screen for us.
Yeah,
I've got an interesting proposition for you guys as Dom loads it up. So I was actually having a quick look. Reinders Dom is sitting at 5.5 million for reference point there as well. So I think at some point at 5.5 million, he could be a little bit of a fantasy cheat code for us moving forward. So I'm very interested in him at some point. Have you managed to
I think it's up
on? Where is it now? I've got that. There we go, Dom. There we go. All right, fire away. Talk us through your team.
I'll quickly run through it because it's probably going to change drastically. Kelleher, I said to you boys, set and forget, let him go, 4.5. De Kuiper.
Yeah.
Very interesting numbers, really good going forward. Aina, a bit of a placeholder. I'm not sure when I'm going to go there at that 5.0. Wan-Bissaka, we touched on his DC numbers, and they have a fantastic run. Van de Ven, not sold. Adogi apparently just picked up an injury, which could lock him away. But, Spurs, we saw what they did last year defensively. Terrible. Not much needs to be said about Mo. Morgan, as Dim Sim just said in the chat, great run in. Newcastle seem like they've been all over the place. Brentford lost half their team. And I think if you're touching a Villa guy, it's him. And I think he's just going to break away this season. He showed signs last year. Numbers didn't really, connect, but I think he's going to have a breakout season. Not much needs to be said here. And the front three is definitely going to change. I can't see myself going in with that. Front three, I'd love to hear your thoughts. But now I'm leaning towards a bench boost game week 1. I really cursed you guys for talking about it in the group chat. But yeah, I'm kind of leaning there. But my team's definitely subject to change. Probably not as locked as, say, Damo's. Yeah.
Thoughts, Damo?
I think it's a great team. I love the Semenyo and Bruno picks for the longer term. I think Semenyo, by the way, at 7 million is criminally underrated. I think he's going to be outrageous for Bournemouth and one of their main men. And I think he underperformed on some data last year that he really should have overperformed on. So I think he's going to be fantastic. Evan Nielsen are going to be pretty good assets, I think, to own this year. And Bruno, we spoke about in depth. I would say if you are planning on bench boosting on this team, Dom, I'd probably try and play a little bit better fixtures, but also understand
that's my only concern.
Wild card in game week 2, like I'm currently planning to do, and then use the fact that game week 2 wild card and the ability to bank transfers with a good team that can rotate in and out the next few game weeks. So I can tackle game week 13, for instance. Then I think this is a great team. You can still pull the bench boost. You probably arguably want a better, fifth defender, but I think it's a solid side. I think it hits a lot of the points. And I think Morgan Rogers for 7 million is the only one at Villa that we're going to all be 100% happy to own come game week 1 because he ain't going anywhere and he's going to play every minute of every game, every season like he did last year. Yep. And I know he's gone from 5.5 to 7 and that mentally is like, oh, can we justify that? Yeah, because he gets contributions. Yep. He's going to be really good.
Gun.
Beautiful. All right, I'll quickly whiz through my current team and we will get to the last few questions before we wrap up for tonight. Let me just get to present, share screen, and my fantasy team. There we go. So you should be able to see that on screen now. So again, I'm nowhere near set. This has nothing left in the bank. There is probably 2 spots in this team that I'll get your thoughts on, but I've got the Verbruggen Sanchez bench boost. I am on bench boost and non-wild card, so being mindful of that. Tarkovsky, Murillo, Van de Ven, Konsa, and Lacroix for that first 5 defenders. And Rogers, Bruno, Salah, Semenyo is the 5th midfielder with Ndiaye sitting there on the bench. And Danny Welbeck, Chris Wood, and Dom Solanke. So the 2 spots in the team that I'm probably not set on are Semenyo and Danny Welbeck. So that's a 7 and a 6.5 million. I did have Beto in my team over the weekend for that Leeds fixture and then for him to just be like the 8th attacker. But I didn't like where the 5.5 million left me. It leaves you at 8 million price point and it just leaves you a little bit awkward. So I'm not a huge fan of that. But what are your thoughts on my side, fellas?
Damn it.
Look, I think it's very solid. I think it's a side where if you're not bench boosting game week 1, which that doesn't look like it is, Paul, could be actually.
No, it is. It is.
It
Yeah,
is
it definitely
because
is.
you're playing keepers. Again, look, the mode
I
that
don't love the
was
Semenyo fixture though at 7 mil.
I think it's something that if you're not looking to game week 2 wildcard, which I know you're not, this is a good team because it gives you the playability in game week 2. And
One thing,
yeah, go.
no Chelsea with probably the best
Sanchez.
opening run of the Big Six.
Sanchez.
Just a keeper, no.
At 5 million,
Pedro
he's
Neto.
I don't like Pedro Neto for
the defenders.
I'm covering the Chelsea defense with the keeper, but I don't I'd love Palmer, but I don't think I can make it happen. I don't love João Pedro's minutes. I think it's 65 minutes with no penalties. I don't love that. Pedro Neto, I don't know if he's actually locked on the wing. He's at 7 million, so that's an option in for Semenyo, but I think with Semenyo, he's nailed. Like, I just think there's too many question marks on the Chelsea attack. The other option I'm actually thinking about is Enzo Fernandez at 6.5.
I was going to mention him. I was like, what are you thinking about Enzo?
I'm really considering him.
Looks like he's going to play
10.
10, yeah.
If I see him play in the 10 across preseason, there's a world where Semenyo becomes Enzo.
First preseason game next week.
So, look, he's someone I'm actively looking at as a Semenyo replacement, and gives you 0.5 to move around the team. Maybe there's no 7 million strikers, so this probably doesn't go on top of Welbeck, but that's where I'm early doors thinking.
I think it's a pretty good side, and I think if you're asking yourself, it's Semenyo, is it Enzo? You're pretty settled on what your structure's looking like or your plans for your strategy moving forward. So I think it's a good sign that you're in that sort of discussion. Also,
if Newcastle had better fixtures. If Newcastle had better fixtures, I'd look at an Alanga. Like, if he was at Forest still, Alanga would be in this
all over
team.
the place, Newcastle.
Or my other option is that I can almost make Semenyo Anderson and move that money around. Or Minte.
Yeah, that's another option too. And Anderson will be fairly decent nailed and just riding. But
because I did have Minte in instead of Semenyo, and then that frees up $1 million to then go to a 7.5 striker, which, I mean, the options at 7.5 million, you're looking at João Pedro. I've got Chris Wood. Like, it's probably Wissa, but then you want to know where Wissa's playing. So there's a few moving parts to this team that need to settle. And we're still 2.5 weeks. We're still 2.5 weeks out. So we're far from at completion.
Yeah, we're far from being settled.
Do we have any more on the tweet? We do not have any more teams on the tweet. There was a good question here, though. And here it is. From Who Knows. I've gone with Haaland, Saka, Palmer draft. I need 2 midfielders for combined 13 million. Which 2 would you suggest? And thank you for the sub. You absolute legend. And that is your reminder. If you are still here after an hour and 20 minutes and you haven't subscribed or liked the stream, make sure you do so. So 13 million, you're looking at 6.5 million mids. There's plenty of options. Dom, fire away.
Was Minte 6 million?
Yeah.
Then you go Minte into Rodgers or Semenyo.
I'm slightly different.
Okay.
I think we're obviously not wild carding like game week 2 or anything. Who knows with that sort of question? So I think it's Semenyo, play the long-term fixtures there. And I think it's Elliot Anderson. And you just ride all those defensive contributions plus the assist threat from all the set pieces all the way through.
Yeah.
And it gives you a touch of money to upgrade somewhere else.
Yeah, I think Rodgers and Minte for 13, that's just great value.
It's pretty good. There's a lot of good options, a lot of good combinations. Which one gets you the most points? Or do you go with a combination of all 3 of those, drop a premium midfielder outside of probably Salah and then spread that money even further elsewhere? It's something you can do.
Perfect. So I think on that note, that is where we are going to wrap things up. So if you do have questions over the next, 24, 48 hours, there will be some more videos going up probably over the weekend with some different conversations and different talking points, probably looking at some price points and ranking some players across some of those price points. So if you are looking forward to those, make sure you do hit like across all the videos and subscribe and get over to Twitter in particular, because Dom has been working hard on some different threads that have been popping off over on Twitter, and he's quite active in that Twitter community. I can see in the chat right now the boys are going crazy for Cole Palmer. Maybe it's something we try to consider to get in our teams, but I just think Palmer and Salah in the same team is just going to be too hard to get in. And it's crazy. We've got 11 people in here now. It's the highest it's been, and we're about to move on. So across those 11 people, we'll get the playback feature from the stream as well. Cal, we appreciate you coming in just even for a little bit, mate. We will be streaming Tuesday nights, our time, this same time, 8 o'clock across the season. This is our locked-in podcasting time. So if you are very keen across all the platforms, you will see reminders on Twitter. There will be reminders through the videos that we post. We are very, very keen on having a big year and many, many more big years to come. So we'll see you guys next Tuesday for another live podcast. But for now, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
I just want to give a quick shout out to @FPLOla58 on Twitter. Legend.
Yeah, gave us a big shout out today, which is always appreciated. So we'll see you guys next Tuesday.